Niacin is flush niacin specifically. At the store, by the way, it's like the market has dictated because people don't want the flush effects that most of the supplements that you're going to get at most stores are non-flush niacin. It's like actually hard to find flush niacin, but the flush niacin is a very unique, multifaceted supplement to be taking. It improves your lipid profile. It's actually studied for that. It helps in the synthesis of certain neurotransmitters. It's actually the case that one of the founders or somebody high up in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, before kind of the ideology really rooted in AA, suggested to people to take niacin to rebalance neurotransmitters after, drinking alcohol for long periods of time and becoming alcoholics. And interestingly, it is one of the most potent supplements to take for erectile function for men. And we're going to break it all down, boys. Guys, this week's specials on product number 1, Supercharged Dopamine and Nootropics Mastery. These are 2 very, very detailed video courses on those topics. 20% off, code for that is 20 now. Cortex Stack for about another 2 days. We're ending that this weekend. Still buy one, get one free. So if you want instant stimulant energy, verbal fluency, clean stimulant flow, high level focus, get the Cortex Stack. You get a bottle for free. There's no catch. The code for that is Cortex BOGO. Torque Stack needs no introduction. All day focus and motivation. 15% off, code for that is 15 now. And if you need to hire me for nootropics, TRT protocol optimization, sexual dysfunction, energy optimization, and hosts of other topics, you can do that in under a minute at livecortex.com. So niacin, otherwise known as vitamin B3, the flush type, is an exceptionally useful compound to be taking for a variety of different reasons, not just neurotransmitter synthesis, but again, aiding and in some cases reversing dyslipidemia, a dysregulation or a derangement in serum lipids, as well as dramatically enhancing erectile function. So we're going to get into all that, but the mechanism of niacin-induced flushing, if you could simplify it, and all these mechanisms really has to do with the prostaglandin receptors. This paper, titled The Mechanism and Mitigation of Niacin-Induced Flushing, says niacin induces flushing through dermal Langerhans cells, where the activation of G protein-coupled receptor 109A increases arachidonic acid and prostaglandins such as prostaglandin D2 and prostaglandin E2, subsequently activating prostaglandin D2 receptors and prostaglandin E2 receptors. Now, prostaglandins, which you will release as a result of taking flush niacin, do a lot of things. They're known to stimulate platelet aggregation. There's strong evidence that prostaglandins contribute to elevate blood flow at rest and during reactive hyperemia. Their role for regulating the large increases in muscle blood flow during exercise is less clear, which may be explained by redundant mechanisms. Essentially, the way that you would look at niacin in somewhat layman terms or somewhat like novice biohacker terms is that it's a vasodilator, right? It is opening up blood vessels for blood to flow better. Vasodilating. It is dilating blood vessels. Now let's talk about some of the neurotransmitter benefits of taking niacin. Flush niacin, by the way. I just want to make that point. Don't try to avoid some of the flushing side effects that you get from it, like itchy skin and some red skin, and you might feel a little weird for 20 to 30 minutes. Don't try to avoid that. You really get the benefits with niacin if you take the flush niacin. This is a paper titled Niacin in the Central Nervous System, an update of biological aspects and clinical applications. So first of all, niacin is the direct precursor to NAD+, which we know has many beneficial effects on human physiology. It's actually thought that some disease states are as a result of depleted NAD+, right? That's why NAD and NAD+ supplements have gotten kind of a lot of attention over the years. So niacin going to help you restore levels of NAD+, which is pretty important. We talk about some of the neurotransmitter sides by looking at the deficits of not having enough niacin. They go, besides dermatitis and diarrhea, niacin/tryptophan deficient symptoms also include several nervous system pathologies such as dementia and depression, as well as other symptoms resembling those observed in neurodegenerative diseases. This evidence, together with accumulating in vitro and in vivo studies, has underlined the importance of niacin in growth and maintenance of the central nervous system. And something really interesting to note is if you don't have enough niacin in your diet, if you're not taking niacin supplements, instead of converting tryptophan into serotonin, which is the building block of serotonin, it instead converts it to niacin, which ultimately could lead to mood disorders and lower levels of serotonin. So if you don't have enough niacin in your regimen, the tryptophan that you're getting, which is supposed to make you have serotonin and thus have a better mood and be happy about life, is instead going to get converted, at least a good degree of it, to niacin. This is why it's important to have enough niacin and tryptophan in your regimen. There are papers papers relative to niacin and dopamine, like this one, niacin enhancement for Parkinson's disease, an effectiveness trial. And they actually correlate some of the Parkinson's symptoms with a deficiency in B3 or niacin. And they end up concluding at the end that these results suggest that niacin enhancement has the potential to maintain or improve quality of life in Parkinson's disease and slow disease progressions. Right? So it could be they're B3 deficient in and of themselves, or that this is affecting dopamine to some noticeable extent where it's alleviating symptoms of Parkinson's disease. Now here's the big one. Okay, plenty of studies have been done on niacin and dyslipidemia, a condition in which you've got deranged lipids. Now in this particular study, what they're saying is guys that suffer from erectile dysfunction as a result of having dyslipidemia benefit pretty greatly from taking niacin, where they conclude niacin alone can improve the erectile function in patients suffering from moderate to severe ED and dyslipidemia. But do you need to have, jacked up lipids in order to get an erectile benefit from niacin? No. Let's go to Reddit, shall we? In the erectile dysfunction subreddit, I mean, these are guys with venous leakage and all manner of vascular disorders that prevent them from adequately being able to gain and maintain steady erections. Where they go, this guy goes, niacin seems to be helping, less issues than citrulline. Now, citrulline is also basically building block to arginine, which will facilitate nitric oxide function and help erections to an extent, but it can come with side effects. This guy goes, might be too early to tell, 25 milligrams at night, some very minor flushing, itching for maybe 20 minutes. That's the flush reaction. Not as bad as trying it before, probably because you end up releasing a little less prostaglandins in response to continuous niacin dosing, so the flushing actually gets better over time. He goes, I think the ED is better. Not perfect, but seems significantly better. In this supplements subreddit, which by the way is pretty useful. I mean, it's kind of layman's talking about supplements, which, some of it can be bullshit and some of it can be useful. Post titled Niacin Experience. Guy goes, I've only been taking niacin for 2 weeks. I enjoy the flush. My energy has gone up and I feel happier and sleep better. That's probably via modulating neurotransmitters. I've noticed that my circulation has improved. My hands are usually cold, but now they are always warm with dilated veins. Another effect that I did not expect right here is that it helps with my erections. Now they are harder and last longer. Okay, maybe it's a good supplement for those who suffer with ED. And on that note, let's dive into story time. So when I first discovered that I had a testosterone deficiency, I was very young. I was in my early 30s, which is the time where you've got to be aware and conscious of erectile dysfunction as well as testosterone. I mean, it's like 1 or 2% decrease over the years. But in our modern lives, with stress and with the way that we're consuming food and the overconsumption of alcohol and estrogenic drugs that people take, testosterone declined significantly. So in my 30s, my test was very low. And as I worked to naturally raise it, which took me quite some time to figure out which supplements were actually targeted, I was taking 250 to 350 milligrams flush niacin while I was working on testosterone, and within about a month, literally my erections came back. My testosterone hadn't moved up significantly. I maybe got it up 50 nanograms per deciliter. I was on the low end at 290 when I first discovered this in my early 30s, and so tests didn't raise a whole lot, in that first month and a half experimenting with niacin, but erections came back full force. What do you attribute that to? Well, again, prostaglandin release and prostaglandin receptor binding, as well as the dilation of blood vessels, that has a direct effect on male penile tissue. In fact, the most potent erectogenic drug or erection stimulating drugs are a combination of 3 different drugs in a preparation called Trimix. And one of the main ingredients in Trimix is prostaglandin E1. Literally, it's a vasodilator of penile tissue. Okay, so that is one of the primary mechanisms by which niacin radically improves erectile function. My suggestion on dose for erectile function or dysfunction would be 250 to 350 milligrams. Get the flush niacin. Tolerate the flush the best that you can. Don't try to take aspirin or something else to mitigate it. You want the effects of the flush. That's where you get the benefit of flush niacin, and also though, ensure that you're working on testosterone. Your testosterone to estrogen ratio is in a nice balance. Your prolactin isn't above range because that's just going to inhibit erectile function at the penile base. That's in the literature as well. But if you're doing all those things and you're taking niacin, you're most likely going to have improvement in erectile function. Generally, men without significant testosterone derangements or otherwise blood flow derangements, that's just some weird thing, whether it's hypothyroidism or subclinical hypothyroidism or some unknown that's causing them to have less than optimal erections, these guys are going to benefit from taking niacin every day. It's actually way more potent than you believe. So potent that you probably shouldn't be taking it with PDE5 inhibitors, and they may in some cases be more effective than drugs like tadalafil. And lastly, if you needed a little more validation of the use of niacin for erectile function, there is a patent, I think it's pending right now, titled Niacin used as oral supplement for the treatment and prevention of sexual dysfunction in human males and females, wherein they break down a lot of the evidence. They discuss the prostaglandin binding, receptor binding in the penile tissue, and that niacin is pretty effective for reversing in some cases and definitely aiding in erectile dysfunction. So the bottom line is niacin has proven to be effective for lowering some of the bad lipids, modulating lipids in a way which balances lipids and gets everything in an adequate range for people that have dyslipidemia, reversing that process or at least aiding in the process of getting things back to normal. So that's like +1 for niacin, man. Helps lipids. Secondly, modulates a variety of neurotransmitters, including GABA, serotonin, and dopamine. It's actually very important for the production of serotonin because without niacin, you're going to convert your tryptophan into niacin and not serotonin. All right. So if anything, get niacin in for neurotransmitter support. And lastly, one of the most effective supplements, because with supplements, it's just like, you know, it depends on the supplement in terms of efficacy for erectile function. A good degree of them are not very effective. But niacin, it does not fall into that category. It's in a category in and of itself that is very potent for stimulating proper blood flow to the cavernosal tissue, which not only gives you good erections throughout the day, but probably can aid in the restoration of erectile function over time. All right, as I said in the beginning, specials on product, 20% off supercharged dopamine. I mean, that course in and of itself is the fastest selling, highest selling course that I have ever put out in 8 years of putting out courses. I mean, it's the holy grail of dopamine hacking. If you have dopamine issues or you suspect that you do, get that course, run all the protocols in that course, and thank me later. The code for that, 20% off, is 20 now. Cortex Stack, until this weekend, boys, is buy one, get one free, okay? There's no catch. You'll literally get a free bottle if you buy a bottle of Cortex. So get a free bottle of Cortex, livecortex.com. Highly stimulating, energy-inducing nootropic. The code for that is Cortex BOGO. Torque Stack. All day energy, all day focus, all day motivation. Could replace your 5-hour energy, replace your energy drinks, replace in some cases people's Adderall. It is very, very potent. 15% off, code for that is 15 now. Plus, if you need to hire me for nootropic regimen formulation, energy optimization, brain performance optimization, sexual dysfunction, TRT protocol optimization, you can do that in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. Like the video if you liked it. It actually makes a huge difference. It's free to do. Just smash the like button, boys. Or if you disliked the video or anything that I said, dislike the video. No worries, pal. Sub to the channel because I really think you're going to love the content that comes out of here. I hope you're having a great day. Hope you have a great week. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one.